Here are the top stories for today, March 6, 2020. President Rodrigo Duterte is not keeping a soft stance on China amid scandals on Philippine offshore gaming operators. The Presidential Task Force on Media Security issues a stern warning against those who are reportedly protecting the alleged mastermind in the killing of radioman Eduardo Dizon. The Department of Health confirms 2 new COVID-19 cases in the country. And Iloilo is all set to host this year's 9th International Dance Workshop and Festival. Good day, I'm Bench Bondok. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story tonight, Malacanang denied that President Rodrigo Duterte is keeping a soft stance with China amid scandals plaguing the Chinese-run Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs. This after Senator Richard Gordon claimed that Duterte's being soft on China triggered the problems hounding the POGO industry, such as money laundering, corruption, and prostitution. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the president is never soft on anything that relates to the national interest, as he is a very decisive president. Panelo said there has been a move from the Senate to declare POGOs as illegal due to the supposed influx of crimes in the Philippines linked to the online gaming. Panelo also denied Senator Dick Gordon's allegations that the palace is being hurt whenever China is involved in several scandals in the Philippines. He said Duterte has already directed all concerned government agencies to look into the problems hounding POGOs. To date, there are 60 licensed POGOs operating in the country. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines on Thursday said it is now verifying reports that a good number of China's People's Liberation Army soldiers are now in the country. AFP Chief General Filimon Santos Jr. said they are in the process of validating the report of Senator Panfilo Lacson that an estimated 2,000 to 3,000 members of China's PLA soldiers are in the Philippines. Lacson said it is possible that these soldiers are undergoing an immersion mission for a still unknown purpose in the Philippines. Last week, Senator Richard Gordon said that Chinese army members are likely using POGOs for intelligence gathering in the country. Meanwhile, Malacanang raised worry over the alleged presence of Chinese PLA soldiers in the Philippines. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said the palace is always alarmed when there is the latest development that affects the country's national interest. He said President Duterte would only take appropriate action if it is backed by substantial evidence, and his decision would depend on the report of the AFP. President Duterte has designated Marawi City Rehabilitation Czar Eduardo Del Rosario as point person who will handle funds and work directly with the Department of Budget and Management to speed up reconstruction efforts. Duterte made the decision during a meeting in Malacanang Palace facilitated by Senator Christopher Bongo. During the palace meeting, Duterte emphasized deadlines and the importance of minimizing delays, as he instructed the DBM to expedite the release of funds for the rehabilitation process. He said he will personally contribute to the reconstruction of the Grand Marawi Mosque and will visit Marawi City soon. Duterte assured the residents of the most affected area that they can visit their houses, but military installations will remain to ensure the safety of the area. Around 40,000 households were displaced during the May 2017 Marawi siege. Moving over to other stories, a Taiwanese national with travel history in the Philippines tested positive for the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19. Taiwan Centers for Disease Control confirmed Thursday its 44th case of COVID-19, an over 30-year-old male who resides in the northern part of the island. The said patient traveled to the Philippines with his friends from February 28 to March 3. He had diarrhea on March 2, returned to Taiwan on March 3, and went to a clinic due to having a dry throat and tiredness. He went to a hospital and was reported as a suspected case on March 4. Taiwan confirmed that the patient contracted the disease on March 5, suggesting it is an imported case linked to the Philippines. The Philippine government has yet to confirm the said information. In Hong Kong, the third Filipino who tested positive for coronavirus disease is currently confined in hospital and is undergoing tests. This brings the total number of Filipinos who contracted the disease at 3. The other 2 Filipinos have now recovered and are expected to be discharged soon. The House of Representatives is looking into the labor issues raised by mall hostage taker Alchi Paray, and President Rodrigo Duterte inaugurates a portion of the NLEX Harbor Link project. More on these stories from Ruth Abigita Carlos.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Thursday inaugurated the C3 Artan section of the North Luzon Expressway Harbor Link project, which is expected to decongest Metro Manila. The road project provides direct access to NLEX without the need to pass through EDSA or the Balintawak Toll Plaza. President Duterte lauded the construction, citing combined efforts of the DPWH, DOTR, and NLEX Corporation for the timely completion of the project. He also recognized the support given by the local government officials and the people of the cities of Malabon, Navotas, and Caloocan. Meanwhile, a total of 12,000 free Wi-Fi access points will be distributed to remote and poverty-stricken areas in the country within this year. The ICT Undersecretary Eliseo Rio Jr. said the Wi-Fi terminals will not rely on the mobile service availability of commercial telco companies such as Globe Telecom or Smart Communications, as it is using very small aperture terminal or VSAT technology. And an update on the labor issues of mall hostage taker Archie Paray, the House of Representatives Committee on Labor and Employment is set to conduct a motu proprio inquiry on March 10. One Pacman Party List Representative Eric Pineda said, while he does not condone Archie Paray's act of hostage-taking, the former guard's grievances against his employers must be investigated. He said it is imperative for the House panel to use its oversight function on the matter concerning the welfare and protection of our hardworking workers. Paray, who was fired from his job after going absent without official leave, claimed that corruption and unfair treatment by his superiors prompted him to resort to hostage-taking. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said the Department of Labor and Employment will also look into the possible labor violations of Safeguard Armor Security Corporation, the security agency that provides security for Vera Mall. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Ruth Abigita Carlos.
Still to come, the Presidential Task Force on Media Security issued a stern warning against those who are reportedly protecting the alleged mastermind in the killing of radioman Eduardo Dizon. And the Bureau of Internal Revenue seals off-site cockpit betting machines in Quezon City. These stories are next when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Gusto ko lang po siguro ibalita sa inyo yung napirmahan lately na batas ng ating Pangulo, yung Universal Healthcare Law. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito na yung lahat na Pilipino would have access to quality healthcare without causing financial burden. So ang mga nangyayari natin alam ko makaka-relate kayo na yung mga pamilya natin sa Pilipinas, karamihan po, lalo na yung mga may hirap, walang access sa quality healthcare. So kung meron mga access, kung na-hospital man sila, napupunta naman sila sa mga centers, may problema rin sa pambayad. So kaya yung Universal Healthcare Law, ibig sabihin po na pagdating ng panahon, actually meron tayong time frame for that, 6 years na dapat na lahat ng mga Pilipino ay meron ng access sa quality healthcare. So kahit nandun siya sa mga island barangays, nandun siya sa mga mountainous barangays, kailangan meron na sila access sa primary care services na tinatawag. The Presidential Communications Operations Office.
The Presidential Task Force on Media Security or PTFoMS has issued a stern warning against certain local government and police officials who are reportedly protecting the alleged mastermind in the brutal killing of Kidapawan-based radioman Eduardo Dizon. PTFoMS Executive Director Undersecretary Jose Joel C. Egco said his office is awash with reports that Dante Encarnacion Tabusares, also known as Bong Encarnacion, had been sighted freely roaming around with armed escorts. EGCO said PTFoMS sent an urgent and no-nonsense letter to PRO 12 because of reports of recent sightings of Tabusares with armed escorts and that he is allegedly enjoying the protection of some local officials. PTFoMS co-chair and PCOO Secretary Martin Andanal said the PTFoMS is a proactive organization which takes its job very seriously.
Yung pag-issue ng warrant kay Tabusares, ito yung huling-huling warrant na na-issue sa isang suspect sa pagpatay ng media. No? So lahat naman yung hawak natin na mga work-related media killings, meron na tayong kaso sa korte. No? Patuloy naman yung task force sa paghapol sa kanila. Kahit nga yung mga at-large sa suspect sa Ampatuan massacre case, sinahabol pa rin natin ngayon eh.
Senator Richard Gordon on Thursday said he wants members of a certain Rodriguez family to attend the next hearing of the Blue Ribbon Committee to shed light on their participation in the alleged entry of huge amounts of dirty money into the country. Gordon alleged that the Rodriguez family members are apparently mules used by organized syndicates to bring in large amounts of dirty money into the Philippines. An estimated 633 million US dollars or around 32 billion pesos in cold cash was suspiciously brought into the country in the last 7 months alone by around 60 individuals, which include the Rodriguezes. Gordon said of the total amount, 283 million US dollars were brought in by members of the Rodriguez family, particularly a certain Elizabeth, who was able to bring in 42.5 million US dollars from September 2019 to February this year. He said another family member, a certain Simon John, was held by the Bureau of Customs on September 26, 2019 for failing to declare 700,000 US dollars in cash upon his arrival from Singapore at the NAIA Terminal 2. Despite his arrest, Simon John was still allowed to travel at least 40 times, during which he transported a total of 32.6 million US dollars. Gordon said the assumption that an organized syndicate is behind the Rodriguezes is bolstered by the fact that the family brings in the money with seeming impunity. The next hearing of the Blue Ribbon Committee on the money laundering issue is set on March 12. The Bureau of Internal Revenue sealed on Thursday unregistered off-site cockpit betting machines in 19 locations in Quezon City. BIR Deputy Commissioner Marisa Cabrero said the government is losing billions from the use of these betting machines of the Manila Cockers Club Incorporated. The machines were wrapped using cellophane and sealed and signed by BIR personnel to prevent it from being used again until it is properly registered. Cabrero said personnel of MCCI will face additional sanctions if they tamper the seal. She cited that while the BIR personnel failed to check the machines of all 132 MCCI branches, what was important is they gave out information and notice of their violations. In a statement, the BIR said MCCI is engaged in the business of cockfighting, including the construction and operation of cockpits, broadcast of fights, and accepting bets through the conventional and electronic means. The Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict in Central Visayas will tap more funds to bankroll projects designed to address issues seen as root causes of insurgency in Negros Oriental. DILG Regional Director Leocadio Tovela on Thursday said the Regional Task Force will seek an endorsement from Secretary Michael Lloyd Dino to tap the 4 billion peso fund from the Department of Budget and Management. The DBM fund will be released in the form to the local government units whose proposed projects were not carried out due to budget ceiling requirement. The fund is accessible this year. Dino, meanwhile, said in a message to the PNA that he will verify with the DBM the mechanics in tapping the budget. He said some of the projects approved by the Regional Development Council last February 28 were intended for insurgency-affected LGUs, particularly in Negros Oriental. The Caraga region showcases its modernized public utility vehicles. Meanwhile, Davao City launches its free Wi-Fi project. Our regional headlines from William Theo.
A total of 118 modernized vehicles are now serving the different routes in Caraga region. The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, said the modernized vehicles are part of the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program of the government. 20 are buses plying the route of Butuan City to Surigao City. Another 28 modernized public utility jeeps, or PUJs, are also serving routes 1, 2, and 10 and the Butuan-Nasipit route. A total of 70 taxis now serve commuters to all routes in Caraga region. Meanwhile, the Department of Health in Negros Oriental has reported that dengue cases in the province in the first 2 months of 2020 dropped by 24% compared to the same period last year. There were 776 cases of dengue with 2 deaths from January to February this year, as against the 1,019 cases and 2 deaths reported in the first 2 months of 2019. In 2019, the province of Negros Oriental recorded a total of 6,631 dengue cases with 24 deaths. In Davao City, officials unveiled the free Wi-Fi for all project of the Department of Information and Communications Technology in partnership with the United Nations Development Program in Barangay Matina, Biao. The Wi-Fi activation was held simultaneously in Albay Isabela, Lanao del Sur, Palawan, and Davao City, with Quezon City as the main site of the project launching. The free Wi-Fi project will be made available in 60 other barangays, mostly in remote areas of the city, including Paquibato and Marilog. Some 62 public schools will also be recipients of the project. For the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo.
More stories from the newsroom. The Department of Health confirms 2 new COVID-19 cases in the country. And Iloilo is all set to host this year's 9th International Dance Workshop and Festival. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
In line with the Philippine government's pursuit of peace, security, and development, no effort has been spared in implementing an anti-illegal drug strategy that encompasses a whole-of-society approach. All levels of government, from national government agencies to village units, non-government organizations, faith-based groups, parents' organizations, and the private sector are all actively involved. The Filipino people have strongly registered their support for this strategy. This is very much evident in the recent national survey showing an 82% approval rating for the President's anti-drug campaign and a consistently high trust and approval ratings of more than 77% for President Duterte himself.
The Department of Health reports 2 new cases of the coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19, bringing the total number to 5. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III on Friday said 1 case was a 48-year-old male Filipino with a travel history from Japan. The other is a 62-year-old male Filipino in San Juan City with no travel history and has hypertension and diabetes. The patients had regularly visited a Muslim prayer hall in San Juan. Previous visitors to the prayer hall who are presenting with fever and respiratory symptoms are encouraged to call the DOH hotline. Meanwhile, the DOH received reports of 3 confirmed COVID-19 cases among foreign nationals who had a history of travel to the Philippines. The first case is a 38-year-old Taiwanese male who visited the Philippines from February 28 to March 3. The second case is a 44-year-old Japanese male who had also extensively traveled to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, and Japan. The third is a female from Sydney, Australia, who attended a wedding in Manila on February 13 and visited Pangasinan. Malacanang on Thursday reassured the public that the government has enough funds to assist those affected by Taal volcano's eruption and contain the coronavirus disease in the country. This as the palace lifted the suspension of loan and grant agreements with the countries that supported a UN Human Rights Council resolution calling for an inquiry into the administration's drug war. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said while the government has enough funds, he would still have to ask Duterte to explain his reason for lifting the suspension. Panelo said Duterte suspended the loan negotiations last year because he felt insulted by the resolution which called for a probe into the drug war. Last month, Panelo said he saw nothing wrong with seeking help for the rehabilitation of areas affected by Taal volcano's eruption. Duterte signed Proclamation 906 declaring the southern Tagalog region under a state of calamity due to the effects of Taal volcano's eruption. Meanwhile, the United States donated $37 million to help 25 countries, including the Philippines, to combat COVID-19. The Department of Health is confident of the method the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine uses in testing samples from patients under investigation for possible COVID-19 infection. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said the test kits used by the RITM are different from the rapid diagnostic test kits used by Japan and South Korea. The South Korean kit is able to test 15,000 a day. On the other hand, the Philippines uses a tedious testing procedure which takes 24 to 48 hours for results to come out. On Wednesday, Duque reported that for 4 weeks, the Philippines has not recorded instances of local transmission and new COVID-19 cases. As of Friday, the Philippines has 5 confirmed cases of COVID-19. A look at our top global stories. More than 290 million students have been affected by school closures across 13 countries amid efforts to curb the coronavirus outbreak. The United Nations on Thursday said the global scale and speed of the current educational disruption is unparalleled and could threaten the right to education. The number of affected countries has risen to 76, with Argentina, Chile, Poland, and Ukraine having just reported their first cases of the virus. Online watchdog Worldometer said the number of registered coronavirus cases across the globe has reached 95,000, while the death toll stands over 3,000. Notably, some 52,000 former patients who contracted the virus have recovered. On to some sports action now. Team Philippines basks in the glory of its steering triumph in the 30th Southeast Asian Games as it will be feted by the Philippine Sports Writers Association on Friday night. World champion and double gold winner Carlos Yulo, women's boxing champion Nesty Petesio, and Olympic silver medalist Hidilyn Diaz lead the contingent as they receive the Athlete of the Year award at the SMC PSA Annual Awards night to be held at the historic Manila Hotel. Yulo, who earned a berth to the Tokyo Olympics, will also receive the President's Award, while Ramirez will be honored with the Executive of the Year for serving as Chef de Mission of Team Philippines. Billiards legend Efrem Bata Reyes will be honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Philippine Sports Writing Fraternity. The Association of Boxing Alliances in the Philippines is set to receive the National Sports Association of the Year title. Other awards are the Milo Junior Athlete of the Year, Chooks to Go Fan Favorite Award, and the Tony Sidayo Awards, among others. And before we wrap up the newscast, dance groups from around the world are coming to Iloilo as it hosts the International Dance Workshop and Festival. Iloilo hopes to share to its guests its native cultural dance while aspiring for a world record. Our Joyce Kudis has more.
The city and province of Iloilo will be welcoming international and national dance groups from 15 countries as they play host to the 9th International Dance Workshop and Festival this year. Marichu Delano, Deputy Executive Director of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, says the event will feature programs and components that had not been done in the other dance exchanges in other provinces. The Dance Exchange 2020, the Philippine International Dance Festival, is set from April 29 to May 2, 2020. Lambuno Municipal Tourism Officer Jennifer Osorio said the municipality was chosen as one of the venues for the immersion program. They target to gather some 200 to 300 Lambunaunons who will learn international dances and in turn teach to international and national delegates the Binanog, the town's cultural dance. The organizers, composed of the NCCA, Iloilo Dinagyang Foundation Incorporated, City and Province of Iloilo, and the Department of Tourism, target to gather at least 10,000 dancer participants during the closing ceremony to be hosted by the municipality of Pototan on May 2. Shirley Halili Cruz, head of the NCCA National Committee on Dance, said the dance exchange will have 10 components to include song and dance for unity, which is an attempt to beat the 5,000 dancer participants record of England in the Guinness World Records. Halili said the Philippines is the first country to have a festival that presents all forms of dances. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Joyce Cudis.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Rodrigo Duterte is not keeping a soft stance on China amid scandals on Philippine offshore gaming operators. The Presidential Task Force on Media Security issues a stern warning against those who are reportedly protecting the alleged mastermind in the killing of radioman Eduardo Dizon. The Department of Health confirms 2 new COVID-19 cases in the country. And Iloilo is all set to host this year's 9th International Dance Workshop and Festival. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Bench Bondok. Have a great weekend.